Good morning, Zoe Gray here, and as most of you know, I'm a pretty avid gamer. One of my favorite games is Warframe, and over the last, say, week or so, we've seen a couple of additions to the game, a couple of new missions, and one of the rewards for one of the new missions is the Opticore Vandal. Now, I know most people don't have this thing quite yet, so I figured I would do a little bit of a show and tell here and give you guys an idea of the difference between the Opticore Vandal and the original Opticore. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here's the specs. Now there are some minor differences. The critical chance on the regular Opticore is 20%. This one, the Opticore Vandal's 24%. The magazine for the original Opticore is 5. The magazine for the Vandal is 8. The status chance on the regular Opticore is 20%, I believe. The status chance here is 30 for the Vandal. And that's where the minor differences end. From here we go to the big ones. Now, the good thing is that the charge rate is vastly reduced. The original Opticore had a charge rate of 2 seconds. Most weapons don't even take that long to load. So a charge rate of 2 seconds is pretty mind-blowing. But the charge rate on the Opticore Vandal is fantastic at 0.6 seconds. The other big difference, though, is the damage. And you probably noticed already, if your eyes have drifted down here to this area, that the damage is a lot lower. There's a 60% reduction in damage of the Opticore Vandal. So the original Opticore does 60% more damage. You can't have it all. But realistically, looking at this, the reduction in damage kind of evens out because you do have that much reduced charge rate, which means you can get off a lot more shots. In the span of time it would take you to do a single shot, for the regular Opticore you can get, say, like 3 for the Vandal. And give me just a minute here, I'll show you how that works. So for right now, let's go ahead and let me spawn in some enemies. I'm just going to do some level 20 bombards because I don't have any mods on either of these guns, just to make sure I didn't change it before I left. Yeah, no mods. And I'm doing that on purpose so you guys can see the base, what these guns can do without any mods, because everything builds from there. So let's go ahead and lay into these bombards, and you can see immediately the big difference you'll notice is the charge rate is so much higher, like bam. There's a clip out of there. Now, it took about a full clip to kill one of those guys. Interestingly enough, though, after that, they tend to go down a bit quicker. Just finishing them off because it's fun. But anyway, you can see the speed of this gun is much better than the original Opticore. And the reduction in damage is there, but it handles so much better. If you're in a firefight and you really need to start, pumping shots into enemies, this gun's going to be there for you, where the Opticore is going to leave you hanging between shots. Now, let's go ahead and grab the original Opticore. Alright, let's see. Alright, same idea, no mods. And yeah, status here, 20%. Critical chance, 20%. 5 rounds in the magazine. It does do a bunch more damage, and there's that evil 2-second charge rate. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a great gun. They're both great guns. But they're pretty much, for different purposes. This one deals a truckload of damage. Let's just get us some new targets. This one deals a truckload of damage, but the reload speed is the fire rate is pretty abysmal. So it's best used against slow targets or when you just don't need that rapid fire. You see how long it takes just to charge one shot. It does do a lot more damage. And make people explode. That was actually pretty comical. But there's that reload already coming in. But yeah, as you can see, it does do a lot more damage, but that reload, or that charge time, is so slow. And it's not as big a deal when you're shooting at a stationary target, but if I was trying to hit something that was moving, that charge time could really throw a wrench in the works. So that's the big difference between these two guns. The Opticore Vandal, you're going to have a much lower charge time. You're going to do less damage in a single shot, but you're going to be able to pull off a lot more shots. And between the two, it takes about the same amount of time to go through enemies. You're going to do roughly the same amount of damage. It's just, it's all the handling. And I think, really, the Opticore Vandal has that handling. It's kind of like the difference between an old American muscle car and a Japanese sports car. You get the American muscle car, yeah, it's got tons of power, but it's going to have a hard time taking a corner. Whereas the little Japanese sports car, yeah, it doesn't have anywhere near the power, but it's going to zip around corners like there's no tomorrow. It's going to zig and zag, and it's going to be really good in the handling department. And that's really the difference between these two guns. Raw power versus handling. So if you think of it that way, I think it'll make the decision on which of these weapons you would use in any particular mission a lot more easy. Do I need something that's fast and agile and capable? Then I'm going to use the Vandal. Do I need something that just packs as much raw power as possible into a single shot? Then I'm going to use the original Opticore. And of course, the $64 million question at the end of the day, is it worth it to get this gun? Is it worth it to go through all the grind of doing 100 Fisher Seals? And I would say it absolutely is, because if you like the Vandal, but you just wish it wasn't so slow and clunky, this is the rework for it that you've been waiting for. On the other hand, if you just can't stand the idea of the gun not having as much firepower in a single shot, then you're never going to be happy with the Vandal, because you can dump heavy cal on it, and you can dump all the damage mods on it you want, but it's just never going to be as powerful as the original Opticore. So that's my thoughts on the whole thing. I would say if you like the Opticore, go get this thing and at least give it a try, before you decide yay or nay. Personally, I like the rework, the Vandal, better than the original. I shouldn't say rework, it's a separate thing, but I like the Vandal better than the original, but ultimately, it's going to be up to you guys what you think. Anyway, thanks for watching. I don't know if I'm going to do any more Warframe videos. I might, because I do play this an awful lot. This is just one of those things where I had the gun kind of early and I thought, well, I'll share my opinion on it. Anyway, if you like this kind of video, hit the like button, subscribe if you like the kind of content that I put out. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you around. Peace.